Hello again, everyone. It's Dove. I just wanted to show you how I add amendments to my soil. Now, I'm normally doing this in my raised beds, and I've done this also just right in the ground, but I've already planted out all of my raised beds, and so I can't show you that in my actual gardening area right now because they're all planted out and everything. But I happen to have this one last container, which is pretty big, and it is kind of a emulation of what it would be like in my raised bed. And so I thought before I planted my last blueberry bush that I would show you how I incorporate different amendments into the soil, because I've worked soil several different ways, and I just kind of stumbled across this method when I was working my raised beds, and it turned out to be one of the easiest ways on my body to work out to incorporate things into the soil, and it also does a really good job. And you have to kind of be close to your bed when you're doing it in order for it to be ergonomically correct. But if you are close enough to your container or to your bed, you can stand perfectly straight up and down while you're doing this, and so you're not hunched over and you're not bending awkwardly or anything. Now, if you're trying to reach to the middle of a 4-foot bed, you're going to have a little bit of strain, but if you're working the soil right in front of you, it's not going to be too bad. And so I use this garden fork. It's like a miniature pitchfork, but it has straight tines, and it's only about 4 feet tall, and it has a nice handle on it, and I am able to grab the handle with both hands and use it in that fashion. And sometimes I have to use it one-handed, but not usually, and it's kind of hard on your arm when you're doing it one-handed, but if you have to do it that way, it is possible. It's just not very comfortable. So I will show you how I work in different amendments. I can't actually add anything to this because I'm done putting the fertilizer in and everything, so you're not going to be able to see how thoroughly the ingredients can be incorporated this way, because there's no separate coloration. It's all just the brown peat moss. This is peat moss and pine bark mulch, and it's already been incorporated well. But I just wanted to show you the action that I'm actually doing in order to make this job easier for me. And so you're not going to be able to see what my hands are doing, but hopefully you'll be able to tell from this bottom portion what's happening. But what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to take the handle with both hands, and I'll stick the fork down into the soil, and as I'm lifting the fork up, I turn it at the same time, and so that creates like a mixing action, like in a KitchenAid stand mixer or something like that. It brings up the stuff from the bottom as you're turning the fork and you're bringing it up. It folds the ingredients or whatever. It's kind of hard to explain, so it's probably easier just to show you. So this is the fork. It's got the nice straight tines, and that's what the handle looks like. And you can grab it at the top, of course. Like I had to do that when I was wetting down this peat moss. I had to hold my hose with one hand and spray it, and then with this hand I had to turn the peat moss and then spray and then turn and spray and turn. But normally I don't like to use it just one-handed, and so I'll grab onto it just like that, and it gives you a nice steady grip, and that way you're not hurting your arms or anything. And so you just stick it straight down, and as you're pulling up, you turn just like that, okay? And if you're close to the edge of your bed and your bed is very full, this can get kind of messy, because if you get too aggressive with it, it may fly out of the container or out of your bed or whatever. But you just try to be as gentle as possible, and I just stick it down and turn. And you would be amazed, especially, you can't really see it because I don't have anything to incorporate, but when you have fertilizers and stuff in here and you're doing this, if you just keep going over the same area just for a couple minutes, you don't have to do it real long, but you just want to make sure that you're getting all those pockets of fertilizer and that nothing is concentrated in any one space. Now I'm being very careful because I don't want to get any of the container mix outside of the container. And if I could, I would give you a straight shot down so that you can see what's happening, but I can't. And sometimes I'll barely pull out while I'm turning. It just depends on the circumstance and which bed I'm working and what I have to work in. But you can go back and forth. Now this isn't that easy to do if you're working like clay soil or whatever, but the more you amend it and the more compost and stuff that you add into it, the easier it becomes to work your soil. And so, like I said, it was just trial and error how I came about this method. And it seems to work the easiest, and it seems to be the easiest on my back and on my arms. See, I just dumped some. And it's easy to do. When it's full to the top, it's easy to dump some out. And so you just try to do your best and not spill a bunch, but sometimes that's why I do a short back and forth like that, so that I don't have anything big coming up from the bottom. But I find this easier than taking a shovel and trying to amend my soil that way. And this is just a really good tool. I use it for a lot of different things. And I highly recommend that if you have any large gardening projects, that you have something like this. Okay? Well, I think you get the idea. I just wanted to show you this technique, and hopefully it's helpful to someone. Okay? Talk to you later, guys.